Tonight on Real News from the Blaze, the administration likes to accuse congressional Republicans of being obstructionists. But when it comes to energy policy, well, the story's a little different. Andrew, what do we have?
The president keeps telling us that he is drilling in 75% of the available land. The problem is the available land is 75% of almost nothing.
Oh, goodness. We'll talk about all that and much more on Real News from the Blaze coming up in just 60 minutes.
This is not going to be about politics. This is about principles. We're going to take it upon ourselves to be part of the solution.
We are going to restore history, restore our honor, restore his idea that character is what matters.
Let us not lose this battle because we sat down.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Well, hello, America, and welcome to the Glenn Beck Program and GBTV. This is the network that you're building day by day. I got home last night, and my wife asked me, "So, how was work?" And I'm like, kind of a pathetic answer. She sensed immediately that I really didn't have a good day at work, and she continued on. She's like, "Okay, what's wrong?" I said, "Honey, it was actually a good day at work. I just better start being wrong really soon." We are headed towards a place that America does not want to go. Oh, you're going to talk about spooky stuff again? Yeah, I am. Last night, we showed you how the 20-year anniversary of Rodney King's beating is being portrayed. I want you to try to wrap your mind around what is happening now. People want to recreate 1968, and it sounds all kind of catchy and fun, but let's remember what they're referring to. These are the Watts riots from 1965. Pretty nasty. In a span of just a few days, there were 34 people that were dead, over 1,000 injured, nearly 4,000 arrested, and $40 million in property damage in 1965. It was a horrific, deadly riot, and it actually served, believe it or not, as inspiration for Frances Fox Piven. She wants more of this now. Then you go to 1968, what they're trying to recreate. This is Chicago, 68, the Democratic National Convention. It was held a year after nasty civil unrest, riots happening in more than 100 cities. The convention was held in Chicago and ended up being mostly remembered for the protest and the confrontation and the violence between the protesters and the Chicago police. And the protests were led by radical leftists, most notably the Students for a Democratic Society, who chanted, "The whole world is watching." Have you heard that before? Heard that since? It's Occupy Wall Street now. And then years later, there's the Rodney King riots. These were widespread in looting, assaults, arson, murder. 53 people died. Thousands were injured. Why? Revenge. Property damage over $1 billion. Now, the leftists of 1968 and the Occupy Wall Street movement really are literally some of the same people. The Watts riots and the King's riots 20 years ago are Cloward and Piven and the Weather Underground. I want you to remember the Weather Underground manifesto we showed you when we were on Fox. Here's the quote: "The real interest of the masses of the oppressed whites in this country lie with the black liberation struggle." Why, that sounds a little like President Obama's former pastor. "And the conditions for understanding and fighting for these interests grow with the deepening of the crisis." You have told your friends over and over again that tough times are coming. But I am not really sure that the average person fully even grasps what we're warning about here. This is going to be the trial of our generation. It comes every generation or so. It comes. World War II. This is ours. What's coming has little to do with paying a little or even a lot more at the pump. It has very little to do with unemployment getting much worse. When I tell you that tough times are coming, I'm telling you that without divine providence, there is going to be blood and chaos in the streets. And even with divine providence, I fear that will only be lessened, because people are actively trying to recreate '68. There were riots in over 100 cities that year. That year, MLK was assassinated. Since that time, leftist radicals have been trying to replicate it. It's the only chance they believe they have to achieve the change that they want. Back in 1968, America would not buy it. They didn't want any of this. Because can you imagine these scenes in 100 cities? Can you imagine the Rodney King riots like this, taking people out of their cars and you seeing this? Can you imagine that in your town? Not Los Angeles, your town. How about if it was happening in, just 3 major cities, dragging people out of their cars and killing them in the streets? I hope to God not, but I think we're about to find out what it feels like. May 1st is what they are dubbing as the start of the American spring. We predicted this last year when we were called nuts. Now, it could start out huge on May 1st, or it could start out with a whimper like it did last fall. I don't know. But what I do know is it's going to end with a bang. 2 other elements I want you to watch for this spring. 1, the disruption of business. It's beginning to happen now. Protesters are coming after Jeffrey Immelt and GE. Members of the 99 interrupted GE's CEO at his speech before the SAE World Congress. Protesters clashed with police. At least 20 of them were booted from the building. Some tried to force their way into the building and had to be forcibly blocked, while others chose to take part in a symbolic game of tax dodgeball at the shareholder meeting. Today it was more of the same. About 100 protesters interrupted the meeting, and once again they were forcibly removed. They did the same thing yesterday at Wells Fargo. It's begun. We know that these people are vile and despicable. They've already dumped human waste in bank lobbies. That's what this guy's doing here. They've shown up at the homes of Wall Street executives and scared the pants off of children inside. Occupy protesters in Oakland smashed windows of businesses a while back, and in New York City they've damaged several businesses. They harassed the owners all around Zuccotti Park last fall, and now the Black Bloc is starting to disrupt and destroy. But the destruction and disruption of business, believe it or not, is the tame part. The most disturbing part of what happened in 1968, to me, is man's love for man waxing cold. That's an important phrase. Man's love for man waxes cold. Lately, I've been thinking, and I've been trying to figure out what stopped the 1960s from happening. What stopped these radicals? I mean, they had the culture, they had the music, they had the peace-loving hippie crap. They had the White House with Johnson. MLK was successful. And then they had the shootings of these people that should have made them even more powerful, but it didn't. What happened? Keith, a guy who works for me, wrote to me at 4 o'clock this morning, and he said, Glenn, I think I found the answer you've been looking for. I've got all my researchers trying to track this one down. He said, I found it in Larry Schweikart's book. He said, I think it was the Manson family, Altamont and Charles Manson. Let me recap briefly. Altamont was a free concert similar to Woodstock, happened the next fall, but it was really seen as the official end of the hippie era because it was out of control. Violence. It was a day that ended with a man pulling a gun just a few feet from the stage before getting stabbed to death by security. Then the important one, Manson and his family. Members went on an infamous killing spree, stabbing victims hundreds of times. They tasted one of their victims' blood, Sharon Tate. They jammed forks into their victims and then just ate dinner casually in the same room. This is how Bill Ayers, his wife, Bernadine Dorn, described the murders to members of the War Council of the Weather Underground at the time. Quote, "First they killed those pigs, and then they ate dinner in the room with them. Then they even shoved a fork into Pig Tate's stomach. Wild." Pig Tate was Sharon Tate. She was pregnant at the time. Now, this came 6 years into the hippie movement. Before that, remember, it was all peace and love. It was flowers in your gun, man, all right, hey, let's just get all along, all right? Peace, love. Then came the violence. That came last. The truth of what this society was. And those people, when they took the mask off, it so shocked the American people that they said, enough of this. And that was the end of it. Now, here's a couple of things I want you to consider. I don't know if that kind of behavior shocks the American people anymore. Does it? I mean, we see it all the time. And here's the second thing. Please consider this. We don't have any flower children now. When this thing starts to go, it's going to go a lot faster to darkness because nobody's putting flowers in the ends of guns. We're starting at man's inhumanity to man. In fact, we're already there. This is the direction we're heading right now. We were there last fall, but it's worse. Remember, I said each incarnation, it will get much worse. Last fall, it was rapes that they were trying to cover up. Now, murders and brutal beatings in the streets, and nobody seems to care. At the helm of this nightmare ship, there are many of the same people that did these same things in the 1960s. Wild, man. Last night, we showed you some horrific things done in the name of justice for Trayvon. We showed you a 13-year-old boy that was set on fire by two strangers. Just set him on fire. And then we showed you this man from Mobile, Alabama. The press isn't even reporting that this is a white man beaten by a whole mob of black men. They're not even reporting it. This guy was beaten within an inch of his life, left to die by an angry mob, lying in a pool of his blood after they beat him with pipes and brass knuckles and kicked him on the ground. They were beating him with bricks. Why? Because he told their kids to stop playing basketball in the street in front of his house. When they walked away, they said, that's justice for Trayvon. No one in the group of 20 adults thought maybe we should stop, maybe we should help him. They just up and walked away. Here's your update for the day. Authorities are saying that this isn't going to be investigated as a hate crime because there was no hate there, apparently. Oh, that's not going to go well. That will anger more people. Well, maybe not. Maybe that's why they're not reporting this story. Zimmerman now in Florida, he's being tried for second-degree murder. The experts are baffled because they say that charge won't hold up. There's no way. Now, if that doesn't hold up, if he walks because the prosecutor is all screwed up, what are people in the street going to do? We have Alan Dershowitz coming up to play this scenario out with us, and he doesn't think the guy's going to go to jail. We just showed you what they did when Rodney King, when the cops walked, horrific riots, 53 dead. And they're being clear today about it. And it's not just Zimmerman. It's everything. One speaker at the Occupy DOJ rally. This is a rally for cop killer Mumia Abu Jamal, one of the sweet causes for Van Jones. One of the guys says if he's ever in jail, like Mumia, he wants you to do more than just protest. Watch.
I feel a certain type of way about marches and rallies, and I question the effectiveness of it. And I do a lot of political work in Washington, D.C., and as you all know, if you're here today, you know this type of work is dangerous work to be doing. Yeah. And I would just ask if I ever got locked up or incarcerated, please don't march for me. Please don't do no rallies for me. I want y'all to start killing motherfuckers. Yeah, it seems funny, but it's like, you know, that's the only thing a government would listen to. Like, you know, if I was Mumia, I would be very honored and privileged to have these people in support of me. But I would want people who would effectively get the task at hand done.
That is in the streets of Washington, D.C., right outside of Eric Holder's office. Is anybody investigating? No. They're tapping into anger and stirring the pot. This is what the radical left wants. They're teaching. They're teaching it in the streets, and they're teaching it in our classrooms. Watch this videotape from The Blaze. Students in Chicago being taught by their teacher how to protest. Here's the teacher blaming the NRA for kids dying in the streets, blaming the guns, and then just saying, I'm saying, maybe it's just an idea. Maybe you should protest. Watch this.
We can help you find out all the children who've been killed. And what if, I'm just saying this, what if you created a cemetery in the front yard where people are coming to school in the morning so that they can just, I'm just saying, if they got an opportunity to walk past and to see the names and the ages in the schools of young people who've been killed this year. That's a form of nonviolent protest, if you will.
Were you ever taught about nonviolent protest? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You notice his teachers, the teacher's shirt says educate or die. This is designed. Will America listen to them? Create violence, create crisis, and then take advantage of it. Buck Sexton, he's our national security editor for The Blaze. He put out a new ebook. Did it come out yesterday?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Congratulations. You're number one on Amazon.com. This is the book, Occupy American Spring, The Making of a Revolution. Buck went out and you lived for 2 weeks with the occupiers. I think you're nuts. But you found them to be really smart.
Varied. Some of them very smart. Some of them not that smart.
Well,
really
yeah.
depends on who you talk to.
But the leaders.
Oh, absolutely.
Brilliant.
I mean, the leaders could have real discussions with you about obscure political philosophers. I mean, a lot of them had actually really done their reading, and they have a much better understanding of where they think this is going than the folks who are being smelly.
So where
and
do they
difficult.
say it's going?
They think it's going to revolution. They think it's going to radical change. That's what they're out there for. When you look at their propaganda pamphlets, which I have a very extensive collection of, and you also look at some of the, they've put out a couple of magazines that are essentially their flagship ideological magazines. There's the Occupied Wall Street Journal, and there's Tidal.
Why is it called Tidal? Do you know?
I actually don't.
Tidal Wave, or is it?
I would
is
think
it paid
so.
for by the Tides Foundation?
I
Do we
don't
know?
think. I think it might be Tidal Wave, but I do know that on the front actually of that. That was at Duarte Square in Lower Manhattan. I was there that day, and what happened was there was some church-owned land that the occupiers wanted to take occupation of. And the
You
police,
were there.
I was there.
I remember reporting on it.
And the police said, you can't do that, it's private property. The church realized that this would be a tremendous liability for them, so they just pushed the fences down and ran. And I have to say, there actually were some priests with vestments on, who were among the first ones to jump over the fence, who were allied with the Occupy movement.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, this here is the blocking of the Triborough Bridge. And this is when they were, again in this, so they're teaching people, hey, this is what's worked before, block the bridge. And this is what concerns me. Can we bring up the maps of where they're hanging out now? Do we have the maps of Union Square? Do you have that? Because I think this is fascinating. And I think you were the first person I called when I said they're going to Union Square, not Zuccotti Park. This is really strategic. Why?
Well, there are a couple things. One, Union Square is a major hub, so you have a bunch of the subway lines in New York City all coming together. That means two things. You have a lot of foot traffic along here, people coming in and out of the subways, changing, a lot of people also dispersing out of the subway. So whatever's going on, there's always now a table where they're handing out pamphlets on anarchy, on Marxism, on racist police force, whatever the case may be that day. They're there and they have a lot of people walking in and out. So it's like an enormous Occupy billboard there.
Right. Hang on just a second. This is important. Could you put the subway map up? This is New York City, and what people don't in the rest of the country understand, New York City is like any body. You shut an artery off, and it dies. This is an artery. Can you zoom in on there? There it is. Let's see, where's Union Square? Here's Union Square right here, right? 14th and Union.
That's right here.
Okay, so you see there's three major subway lines that go go right there on Union Square. 34 million people a year commute through that place. Mm-hmm. So you shut that off, what happens?
The city comes to a halt, basically. You'd have a version of what the city under Mayor Giuliani didn't allow, which was when the MTA workers wanted to go on strike, and he said no, because that will literally cripple the city of New York, and he threatened to fine them tens of thousands of dollars a person a day. It was because that he understood the stakes. If you actually shut this area down, you will cripple the entire transportation system for the city of New York. Just one area. It's a node of control.
Now go back to the other map, if you will, Sarah. Thank you. What else is there?
Well, you have a few things. They have obviously Whole Foods there. They have a farmer's market that comes and goes. There's Trader Joe's. What that means is that it's very easy for them to get a lot of food together, because that was actually a problem at Zuccotti Park, which is much smaller. You have a much bigger, you have much more open space with Union Square than in Zuccotti. It's many times the size. It's also a place of tremendous historical significance. In 1934, there was a massive march there for Labor Day, actually on May 1st. There have been anarchist marches there in the tens of thousands going back to 1914 and 1915. So this
and those were both violent. And then the anarchist movement between 1915 and 1920 ended in explosions, letter bombs, all kinds of stuff.
That's right.
Really nasty. There's also the hospitals are in this area.
You have NYU, New York University is here. You also actually have Cardozo Law School is here. The New School is here. So you have a concentration of college-age students, or close to it, who are all in that area, living in that area, going to and from school.
So come back over here for a second. How much time do we have? Okay. In your book, I mean, you really outline it, and you really say, look, this is what it is. This is what's going on. Predict what you think is coming. What's coming May 1st?
Definitely a big march. I'm pretty comfortable saying that. I've spoken to Occupy organizers who have said, expect there to be thousands upon thousands of people marching in solidarity with the Occupy movement
violence?
for labor.
The Black Bloc.
We'll see. The Black Bloc got sort of pushed aside recently by some of the more prominent occupiers because of what happened in the East Village, because of these arrests that we've shown on the Blaze, because of the broken windows and sort of that destruction. They recognize that here's the thing. In the absence of police brutality, in the absence of pepper spraying young girls, that was a while ago. They need that before they can go to the Black Bloc. The idea is that unless they have some version of events they can show the public that says...
They'll get that. I mean, they'll get it. I mean, look, the pepper spray wasn't out of control. Look, move. We're going to have to pepper spray you if you don't move. They don't move. Okay, well, I'm going to have to pepper spray you.
I think they will get it. But
yeah,
I think
they're going to get it.
They're looking for that. And then I think you'll see the Black Bloc come in more.
And this is global. May 1st is a global event. It's not just the United States of America. It's also overseas, is it not?
Yes, yeah. I mean, they have. They're saying it's 115 cities at last count. It could be more than that. And this stretches back to the Haymarket riot in Chicago, actually.
They really think, because some of them are, I mean, the Obama administration is trying to use them and try to make this about a campaign. You really think they could put this genie back in the bottle once they have uncorked it? Because this isn't not going to stop with Obama. Well,
they've managed to change the way we talk about things in this country. I mean, I've said this before. You can have now a discussion at the highest levels of government, and you can refer to the 1% and the 99%, and everybody knows exactly what you're talking about. And that has resonance with people. They've been able to shift the discussion. They've been able to basically vilify capitalism. Right. I mean, that's what they've been able to do. And this is actually a playbook that's kind of old. It's come back now. It's cyclical, but this has been done before.
And they're also openly talking about killing and the crazy ones, killing and revolution in the streets. I mean, I've never heard that in my lifetime.
It depends on where you are. I mean, in some places, the occupation is saying, we have clips. I mean, we can't deny this. This is what they're saying. They're saying there's going to be revolution. They're saying there could be violence. Some of them say that even asking for nonviolence is going too far. We found flyers where they say that. So it's not unfair to bring this into the discussion because these are their own words. It's not the words of all of them, but it's the words of a good few.
The media, somebody told me today, they feel betrayed. They were sucked in by these people. How difficult is it to get this story? How difficult was it to go in and find out what was really going on and to be able to write this book?
It wasn't hard. They're willing to talk to anybody who wants to talk to them.
That's right.
Infiltration basically required an open mind and a willingness to discuss politics with people that you may not come across otherwise.
I want you to go right now, go to the website, go to Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble and get Occupy American Spring by Buck Sexton. Works for the Blaze. Important information he's been working on for a long time. Quite honestly, as a guy who works for me, the reason why I said at the beginning, he goes into the center of Occupy and lives there for 2 weeks. You ain't doing that again, are you?
I don't think that's going to fly this time.
Yeah, I don't
Glenn.
think so either. Thanks a lot, Buck. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Back in a minute.
We now no longer can even describe the nature of the enemy we face.
We're just debating on whether you can get brass knuckles at cheaper than dirt. I don't know if you can.
I bet you can.
Really? Yeah. I don't know if you saw that China is going to start buying oil in gold. That's not going to work out well for us. Why are they doing it? Dollar's becoming worthless. The only thing that's going to be left of any value, gold and guns. God, gold and guns. Whoa, I think I said that like 2 years ago. You want to protect yourself? Get on your knees, pray to God. Get some gold, and then protect your family with cheaperthandirt.com. Tough times are coming. They are the leading source for firearms and ammunition online. You got to be responsible, be proactive, and exercise your Second Amendment right. Visit cheaperthandirt.com. Go there now.
People in the administration were actually concerned about the rapture.
Rapture meaning everyone vanishes.
Talking about the end. Jerusalem will be the price for peace.
Eve, we're going to stop those bombs. Have faith.
Is your nonstick pan a sticking nightmare? Don't live in fear. The solution is here with Organic Kitchenware, the new nonstick cookware with revolutionary green ceramic coating. Now you can saute or fry with little or no grease or fat. Foods never stick, so you never scrub. Look how with just water, burnt fudge cleans up in a breeze. Don't worry about eggs sticking to the pan. They'll slide right out. Order your 10-inch Organic fry pan right now for just $19.99. If it ever dulls or damages, we'll replace it. It's the pan that slips and slides for life. But we're still not done. Call or click right this minute and you can double your order. You get 2 Organic 10-inch fry pans with recipe books and a lifetime warranty. A whopping $220 value, all yours for $19.99. And when you